There was a man who inherited a house when his uncle died. The house sat on a hill outside of town, and rumor had it that the old place was haunted.
Oh no.
The man decided to move in straight away, despite his reservations. But
Brave
late
guy.
that night, the phone rang, and when he answered it, a creepy voice said, "I am the Viper. I will be there in 2 hours." And then it hung up before he could say anything. Not long afterwards, the phone rang again, and the same creepy voice said, "I am the Viper. I will be there in 20 minutes, and hung up. This made the man quite nervous, and he began to wonder who this mysterious caller could be. Before he knew it, the phone was ringing again.
He needs to change his number.
"I am the Viper. I will be there in 10 minutes. The man was getting much more concerned now. A few minutes later, the phone rang. "I am the Viper. I will be there in 5 minutes. Needless to say, the man began to panic. Again, the phone rang, and the man slowly lifted the receiver and put it to his ear. "I am the Viper. I will be there in 1 minute, said the voice. The man ran around, locking all the windows and doors, and then called the police. They told him that the officers were on their way. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Shaking with fear, the man opened the door a crack and asked, "Is that the police?" "No," replied the voice. "I am the Viper.
He even called
I come every night to wash and wipe your windows. Where should I start?" That's it. That's the whole story.
It's not really a scary story.
That's a spooky. It's a funny spooky story.
It's a funny spooky story.
I mean, the guy who I always imagined it was like some dude in an apartment, right? Because if it was your house, then it would still be creepy. Because like,
Yeah.
even if you just I think it was a house actually. The story started that way, right? Like his
Yeah.
uncle died. Okay, so his uncle obviously had some. Well, all the W's are V's, so I just imagined him as being like, I don't know, Jewish.
Or
like
well, you
East
did like an
Coast.
Arnold voice.
Was that more Arnold?
Yeah.
I guess it was kind of like Austrian sounding. Yeah. Austrian
They're
Jew.
scary.
His Austrian Jew voice.
Austrian Jew.
Yeah, why
just
not?
like a what's that? Not Silence of the Hills.
the hills have eyes. I don't know. What you're getting at.
Sound of Music.
The Sound of Music. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were Austrian, right?
Yeah. That's what it is.
That's
The hills are alive with the sound of music. That's the song. That's what was in my head. I'm like, they're not silent.
You were trying to reference aloud your own brain. So, well, that's what we're going to talk about today a little bit is the brain,
Yes.
essentially, right? Or a brain, and
Well-
not necessarily our own brain.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll have to find a way to interface with this new entity called AI.
The AI. And we should maybe preface the fact, and I'm sure anyone who listens to us already knows, that we are not professionals or scientists when it comes to this stuff.
Oh, speak for yourself. I mean, I get paid millions of dollars
Well,
to
in that case, I will defer to you
to
then.
speculate and to make rash
hey,
judgments.
That's no problem. I'll just defer to you, like, for the expertise, because I'm good at playing an idiot, so it's gonna be easy for
And
me.
I'm good at making things up on the spot. So
Okay, so as far as AI is concerned, let's start by. I think for me, I don't know why. Maybe this is selfish, but entertainment. I want to see what AI is going to create to entertain us, right?
dude, I think eventually we'll have enough recordings, right?
yeah.
So what we should do is in the future, maybe our 100th episode, right?
Okay.
Is we'll get a bot to write a script for us
Oh, that's a good
based off
idea.
of what we've already done before.
That's a cool idea.
And then we can have the another software read the script in our voices because it will have enough information to do that.
Can we get that? Is that something we can do? Like have a bot?
I think
that can
by
read a
our
note?
100th episode, maybe.
Oh, by then?
Yeah, because right now there are programs that are being made.
Because I know you can get
because there's like
an auto
deepfake,
script,
right?
Yeah.
Which is for visual, but there's also auditory ones that do it too. That will do it like in the
It's
voice.
gonna be so crazy, man. Well, even like Google Maps and other things like that in general have different, like the voices you can choose for your Google Maps and stuff is pretty sophisticated. It sounds way better than Microsoft Sam from back in the day. But
Sam.
I like it. I don't know.
Yeah,
I got an English woman speaking to me.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So maybe my AI girlfriend one day will just be some.
Would you do that? Would you date an AI?
Well, I mean, is it dating or is it just? It's really just a toy at that point, still, isn't it? Like,
it depends on how attached you become, right?
I don't know. I can't see myself. I don't get attached in life really easily at all. So I can't imagine it happening with a device.
Yeah,
because I'm not even materialistic.
I couldn't get into.
You know,
I need actual contact to feel
emotional.
You know, I need that
sure.
physical touch.
Well, they're gonna give that. That's gonna be on on offer.
Yeah, but it's like in the back of your head, you know, it's all fabricated.
Yeah,
I mean, what is a person but a fabrication, anyways?
Okay, but physically speaking, like, how much convincing do you really need, right? I mean, if it looks like a woman and feels like a woman and sounds like a woman, beyond the physical of what you desire from that, I mean, I make the joke sometimes, like, you know, women better watch out, man, because the sex bot's the future. That's going to be the real competition.
They're here and they're making their waves through. They already have brothels of sex like bots.
That's kind of weird. Imagine if your job
was to clean
the bots.
Yeah, gross.
I mean, what do you use? Like you got your, like, you wouldn't use a squeegee. You'd use like some kind of sponge and maybe like a toilet bowl, like brush. You know, something cylindrical so that you can get in those difficult to reach places.
I would almost feel like they would want something detachable which you could just replace, right? Like what you do with surgical equipment or anything else like that. Because that's not only is that intimate, but it's also like, if you're going to be selling this object and renting it,
yeah,
I would think you would want replacement parts for that.
Well, I've seen that on the internet, like back page ads and stuff like that, where instead of hookers and escorts, it's love dolls. It's like sex dolls, and you know, it's just some guy that owns this thing, and he's literally renting it out.
Yeah,
for whatever amount per hour. I think $175 or something was one I saw.
Wouldn't that be funny if you're like some bystander, right? And you see this guy pulling out something out of his trunk that looks like a human body, and you see it bringing it up over his shoulder.
That's
like,
so
what do you
weird.
think? Like, because from a distance, it's gonna look like a real person. So, like, would you just think that this dude just murdered someone? He's bringing him up.
God, I think that anyway. Sometimes the way people do their trash.
So, Mark, do you think our future robots and AI should have the resemblance of humans?
I think at least at first, and I've thought about that too. I think initially, even though there's that sort of uncanny valley effect going on, I think they should resemble humans. I don't think they should be an attempt to make them as human as possible. That's like something you see going on right now, and I think that's a mistake.
Yeah, like the whole Turing thing, like that's not important for AI, you know?
Yeah, not yet at least. Right?
I don't think that comparing an AI to humans is really necessary, because they're going to be doing things more than humans. Like, they're going to be our mental tools, right?
Well,
instead of our physical tools like a car.
They're going to make us completely irrelevant.
Right.
I mean, Ben Goertzel makes it good. He's someone everyone should listen to, I think, either whether you're like put off by him or not.
Yeah, he's a little off-putting,
but he's really smart, and he makes a good point. He's like, you know, a squirrel, like the importance of the everyday events of a squirrel's life have purpose to the squirrel and are important to the squirrel, and the squirrel lives in a park that we have protected, right? And so the squirrel arguably has little to no predators, and its day-to-day going-ons are irrelevant to us. However, the squirrel is only safe if he stays in that park. Once he leaves it, he will enter a world that he doesn't understand, and he may get run over by a truck.
Mm-hmm.
So he makes that analogy to the level of intelligence that an AI or a singularity will have one day when compared to humans. And the only way for humans to understand that at all is to become a part of it, to basically upload your brain into a singularity, at which point you're really more of a legion of minds, right? You're not one mind anymore. Or you're not a specifically narrow kind of mind.
Right, so you're not talking about interfacing with it in a mental scape. You're talking about
becoming part of it.
Well,
I bring that up as a point because again, going back to what you asked, as far as, should AI robots, let's say, the drones that the AI creates, to interact with us in a more personal, physical way, to resemble humans, I think it's a mistake to try to make them like Terminators, right? To make them look exactly like us.
Yeah.
Because that puts us on our guard. Because we know it's false.
Right.
It's like when you put like a stuffed animal next to the animal it resembles, what happens? They usually get either terrified and run, or they attack it because they know that it is false on a level that is usually a way to ambush or manipulate.
I also think humans are very limited physically as well. So it's like why we're so constrained by our body. Why would you want your machine to be constrained in the same ways? Because it's not going to be able to disarm. Maybe there's more ways that a robot could be designed to disarm bombs.
Yeah, that's a good point. The fact that it would have human constraints, but but also it would be also more powerful than us in those limitations, right?
Yeah.
So like our knees would be destroyed if I tried to lift 500 pounds without years of practice and becoming stronger.
Not your knees, it's their back.
I would just my back, my knees. I destroy a lot, right? But that robot drone could do that probably easily,
right? But
perhaps without any real effort.
There might be more mechanically efficient ways to design that thing as well.
True, but my point is that would also put us off. Because we'd be jealous, right? It's a lot of negative emotions.
Yeah, I'm already jealous of birds, though.
Well, yeah, but not in any way that you can relate. I mean, meaning, like, if you're jealous of the fact that a bird can fly, it doesn't upset you. You're not really jealous. You're more like envious of the feat. It's not like the bird can be you and you can't be it.
Yeah.
But in an AI robot, it very much is better than you. Physically, in every way, and it doesn't deteriorate.
Yeah,
it can also its parts can be replaced, right? So, I think they should resemble us. So, in a way that is somewhat comical, perhaps, but also cute and friendly. And I'm not saying Powerpuff Girls.
So you want it to be obvious that they're a robot? Then.
It should be obvious. Yeah, they should almost look like cartoon characters.
So almost like something
lighthearted.
Okay, yeah,
something lighthearted. Yeah.
Like big eyes and
big eyes. They should naturally, even though they are more powerful than us, they should look timid, or they should look, because body language is a big thing.
Yeah,
and expression on a face. Like I want these robots to express emotion, but in a way that looks robotic, not in a way that looks human, because humans aren't ready for that. It's just like modern technology. We're going to need generations of humans to just grow up with that technology for it to be acceptable, to be understood better.
Yeah. Are you polite to robots? Everything.
Am I what?
Are you polite to robots? Like, do you say thank you to your Google Assistant or whatever?
Right now, yes, jokingly. Because, as I mentioned before, I have a British female voice for my Google Maps. And I chose her not necessarily because I like the way she sounds, although it is pleasant, but because she apologizes when she makes mistakes, or she's very kind about redirecting me. So it affects my road rage. It actually calms me down a little bit. The fact that I sound like a female voice talking nicely to me.
Yeah.
And maybe there's a whole psychological, bridge or architecture for that, but I don't know what it is. I just know that it works and I like it. And yeah, so I'll jokingly, be polite or even thank it, but it's a joke right now.
Yeah.
I do think that there is, from what I've seen online in videos, there is an AI already that maybe is beginning to understand emotions and niceties of that sort. And I would, if I felt I was having a conversation with a robot that felt human, I would of course be polite to it.
So what do you do when you check out of like a grocery store? Do you say thank you to the machine still?
Yes, I would. Yeah. Not the ones that we have now.
No. I used to.
Why?
I used to say
really?
I used to do it just because it was habit of always saying thanks to the cashier. But then there was none around. So I used to, but then I started seeing where they were stationed. Mm-hmm. Like the actual humans. So I'd say thank you on my way out to them. Even though they didn't really do much.
That's what I've done that. Yeah, they're just standing, like the ones that monitor, they're just standing there. I'd say thank you so that those people can hear me.
Yeah.
But you're right. Sometimes I've said thank you in like a non-direct passive way. So I'm kind of thanking the store, the robot, and the person at the same time. Like I'm thanking the experience.
Thanks, world.
Thanks, world.
Yeah.
For that TJ Maxx t-shirt. Yeah. No, I've done that. I have done that. But, well, I mean, how do you feel about, have you seen the movie Surrogate with Bruce Willis?
No, I don't think so.
All right, so before I ask this question, I'll give you a little synopsis, right? Without going into the plot, the setting is that in the future, humans are able to wirelessly connect their conscious thoughts and really their synaptic, like impulses with these drones that they can control. So it doesn't matter, like one character is a man and his drone is a beautiful, Barbie doll, Hollywood looking woman, right? And for other people, it's just them, but it's a version of them that's younger and slightly better looking, things like that. So most of the world has accepted these surrogates, these Wi-Fi robots they control. But then there's a second group, there's a minority of people who detest it. And they live kind of like people now that live off the grid and they're completely like solely, self-sufficient. They detest that that they think it ruins human interaction. And basically the premise of the movie is an extension of your cell phone. How do you feel about that? Would you be in the minority that thinks, no, humans are humans and robots are robots and we shouldn't cross that line. We shouldn't become the androids that we kind of are becoming now? Or would you just think that would be really fun? Like, maybe Zach is in his 70s and he wants to control a 23-year-old version of himself.
So do I get to feel what the robot feels?
Yeah, you feel everything that the robot feels. You don't feel pain unless you want to feel pain.
So I would be at home and my robot would be roaming around.
You're basically, you're in like an iron lung or a chair and, like an apparatus that lets you wirelessly connect this robot that looks and feels, for the most part, let's say human. Or maybe you'll have
think that's
purple
valuable.
skin.
I think that would be really cool to be able to do, but I think that the more valuable experience would be to experience it in the flesh, to actually go there. Just because it is, to me, that would feel more of a traditional
Why is
way.
that more legitimate if your brain can't tell the difference?
Because I know the difference.
How do you know the difference, though?
Because I know where I am physically.
So that's based on your senses, though. So the faculty, the fact that the faculty of your senses is telling you that you are real, right? Because you've spent your life being a real person. But if you are a child who was brought up with a surrogate their whole life, I think it's plausible.
Oh, snaps. Yeah.
It's plausible to argue to say that they feel more normal inside the skin that's exterior to them. So how do you argue that you're more real?
How do you stay fit as a kid then? How do you stay keep your body from atrophying?
Well, maybe you don't, and maybe
you just become this gelatinous mess. And
then you could survive off an IV, let's say.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a movie called Mind Warp, which is a really cool B horror movie with Bruce Campbell that I like. And in that movie, the world is it's a nuclear waste, right? And whoever does live on the surface or underneath are like mutant type people, and they're crazy. Everybody's crazy and messed up, and there's all kinds of negative experiences. But the upper 1%, the upper echelon of humans that have separated themselves from society, if you want to call it that, live in these computer generated realities, right? Where they can generate any kind of world they want to live in.
Right.
And that is, and that's what their bodies are like. They're completely unfit, and they wake up only to use the bathroom, and some of them don't even do that. So they're just in their fake world 100% of the time.
Right.
They won't even know when they die. So should it reach that point, and does that matter? Like, what if you can upload your brain? So if you could upload Zach's mind to an AI computer to a singularity, it instantly could be copied, and then each version of you would still be you, but really an independent, and it could be living an entirely different life. There might be instantly 1,000 Zachs.
Yeah, but the thing is, when you die, your physical body, like that part of you, is gone forever. So the digital you doesn't really matter to you. It's not you anymore.
Well, let's put it to you this way. So let's go back to the idea of the surrogate, right?
Right.
Let's say that instead of you controlling the surrogate, a copy of your brain, let's say a 28-year-old copy of your brain, is placed into the body of a surrogate.
Okay.
And there's the robot Zach, the android Zach, and the real quote unquote Zach.
Right.
And you're living separate lives.
Right.
The robot Zach goes on to become immortal. The original Zach, the fleshy Zach,
Right.
dies. Why is one more real than the other? Why are you the real one?
Well, I would say that when I say real, I just mean the original.
Okay.
That's all I meant.
I think that's fair, yeah.
But I think that 22, that other Zach
Yeah.
is still a valid life because it still has my thoughts and feelings as a real person.
Do you lose your rights once you separate your mind from your body?
So do I lose my rights to that copy?
As a person in the world where laws matter, do you lose your rights once you upload? Do copies of you have rights like you do? Can they vote? What if they take a body? If they take a robot body, will they be treated the same as you, or they can still
I don't think they would
property?
be. I think they'd be considered a
Well, that's
property. Yeah.
That's the worry I think some people have, and it's a worry I have, because if my mind can be perfectly copied,
right,
and it's given an android or false body, that mind is going to suffer as I would suffer if I was suddenly chastised or
right,
abused or even destroyed or tortured. So,
but I don't. I think society would treat it that way.
Well, I think what we're going to probably decide as a society is that we don't want perfect copies of our minds, and of course, there will be people that are doing it. Right?
I think the coolest
exists.
thing about being able to copy yourself would be for your relatives to see you and to visit you after you're dead. You know, because they'll be able to talk to your.
Oh, that is such a wild thought, man.
That's who would be valuable too.
So to basically, I think we'll reach immortality that way before we reach it physically. And that's another thing,
I don't
too.
know. Because the mind is really complex.
Well, not only that, you're right, actually, but think about this. Like, once we create an AI that's smarter than man.
Yeah, who knows
mankind,
what technology is going to explode to.
It's going to be instant, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the level, like the speed at which discoveries are made we won't even be able to wrap our heads around it. It's just going to be leaps and bounds.
And that's why I'm willing to sacrifice, jobs for the technology increase.
Right, but what about, so, I mean, you could say that what you and I are doing right now is what we want our lives to be, right? This is how we want to sustain ourselves.
This would be an amazing life.
Exactly.
If we could just make money off of this.
That's right. So let's say, we are right now, we're not being paid for it, but we are right now doing what we want to do with our lives. Imagine if that was taken away from us by AI, by robots. And maybe this is a bad example. Let's say someone who really loves their job, like a football player or a lawyer or a doctor or even a nurse or a carpenter. Like,
dude, nurses are going to be taken out.
Well, all
nurses
of those positions
just collect data.
Every job can literally be replaced theoretically by an AI robot in the future. So how do we as humans then determine purpose in our life if we drew it from our activity? Because we do.
Right.
So where do we draw a line there, or what do we do to make that line acceptable?
So even though there might be a robot making podcasts at some point, we could still make podcasts. We can still do it for the fun of it. You can still do things regardless of it. There is another person or entity that can do it better than you.
True, but let's
it's like carpenters, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can mass produce a bunch of tables, but people are also going to pay more and are willing to do so for a handcrafted.
So a market will still exist for the human touch.
I think it will.
Even if it's a lesser
I think
quality.
that a lot of things will be automated and become cheaper, but I think there's always going to be that want for the human aspect, the soul, if you will, of
would you watch robot entertainment? Like, would you watch robot porn or robot footballs? Like,
I would watch
sports?
robots destroy each other for sure. Robot gladiators.
Oh, man.
That sounds great. Just see blood, just see oil and bolts flying everywhere. That'd be so cool.
What if they don't like that, though? So they'd have to be down for, like, suicide missions, basically. Actually,
but would it be suicide because their mind,
they wouldn't be
dead?
They'd be immortal, right?
Yeah,
that's true. That's a good point.
They could be backed up.
You couldn't die. Boy, wouldn't that be like a way to, like, a sending off for your fleshy body? Like, if you uploaded your mind and you don't want to have to deal with your fleshy body anymore, so you force the origin of your being into like a gladiatorial arena. So basically, it would suck. Like it's you,
right? It's your body,
but your mind's not there.
So you're like you blank out your mind, right?
Yeah,
and then insert some kind of controls over it.
It's just so much to think about and so many caveats. And I guess the only thing that worries me is that I do believe there's goodness in this world. I just don't think it's on tap. And I think that there's a lot more horrors that come from man than...
Okay, yeah. So AI has potential greatness for evil and wrongdoing. I mean, just look at what China's doing with their AI and how they're becoming a surveillance state. They're punishing people for like jaywalking by using AI, and they publicly shame them. They publicly shame them for doing so. Yeah, and they'll like show them their picture on like a screen, and they'll say this person jaywalked, and like I don't know what else. It was written in Chinese, so I couldn't read it. Wow. But and then they also want to create like a point system for like social points, so you get a discount on your bus fare, or you get banned from your bus fare.
That's terrible. So
yeah, they haven't done that part yet, but they want to.
Oh, that's disgust. That disgusts me.
And then they also want to pretty much surveillance everyone, not only on the streets but in the homes too, and see how much you're praying, see who you talk to in a different foreign language, and
how many laws you break in your own home.
And then they put them into like training camps, if you will, for the mind to like reconditioning. Well, and they've done this with like Muslims in China. Like it is human rights violations to the nth degree.
Well, that's the biggest thing I think that we're going to see, like a battle against, if you will, is how human rights are going to disappear, because I think that's the direction this world is going as technology increases. Your privacy is gone even now. I mean,
it's already. You can ditch your phone. But
it doesn't matter. It won't matter. It's like, did you watch The Social Dilemma on Netflix?
No, I haven't.
So basically it's a really good, I thought it was a really good documentary. It is about developers, professionals that developed a lot of the social media, or all of the social media we use in the West and around the world, I would say. And how they didn't do it ethically, basically. And many of them seem to regret the fact that they didn't do that. Meaning that they didn't know the impact these systems would have psychologically on humans. And some of them talk about how everything is tracked that you do. I mean, the amount of time you spend looking at a picture, your phone is sending data out your phone is sending data about you constantly. Yeah. Nonstop.
Where you are.
Even when you think it's off, which is crazy.
Yeah, because it's still receiving the cell.
Yeah, and who really turns off the cell phone? Nobody. They go dead and you recharge it. No one really, like, that I know at least, actually turns off their phone and doesn't use it anymore. No. Right? I used to do that, and I don't even do that anymore. Yeah. So
I don't think I ever did that. I never just turned my phone off thinking.
I used to, because I used to think that, for me, it was a way to practice not needing it or using it all the time, because I still bristle at that. I don't like it, but now I've just given in, I guess.
Some people will turn off their Alexa when they're like having conversations that they feel like they don't want to share with anyone ever.
That's why I haven't gotten an Echo, but
that's one of the reasons I haven't gotten like a Google Home,
because that thing listens to you, and your phone listens to you as well.
Yeah, it does. And they can use
that's
that
what they were talking about, is your phone is listening to you. It's using its camera to watch and map your facial expressions. Like I said earlier, like how long you look at a picture, what the content of the picture is, and that includes videos, what you read, everything, all that, because all that data is money. They say they always say, in this world we are the product, the human being. Our data is the product.
Yeah, that's where all the money's in is in data,
and it's a vast market, and it's only just been tapped, even though we've spent the last 20, maybe 25 years, let's say.
I mean, that's what Google does, and that's what Facebook does too. Facebook has actually done social experiments, if you could call it. Yeah, with the way that they presented certain articles and certain things like that. Right. They got more people to vote just by adding a button saying, I voted, or putting pictures with the button, and it turns out using pictures of like your friends who also voted gets you to vote too.
Well, it's a peer pressure thing, right? Yes. And it works. I've seen it on dating apps. Like Tinder has it. You can get like a I voted early badge and stuff like that, which to me is ridiculous.
It is. It's like, who cares?
I don't, but people do. You know, it's like, what team are you on? Yeah, it's just like going back to the, the high school locker room, right?
Yeah.
Were you in soccer? Were you in football practice? Did you get picked for soccer? You know what I mean? Like that kind of shit. So
I'm so glad I don't use social media like at all. I don't even look at it. Like there's very few that I do. Like Snapchat sometimes.
I've been giving in a lot more lately, and I even started like a Twitter and a TikTok account. And the main reason I've done that is because of this show. I want to share what we talk about to more people.
Yeah, right. I want to do that too, but I just don't like.
It's a catch-22. Yeah. Well, maybe it's just a necessary evil, not a catch-22. And I call it that because I'm with you. I really don't want to have to use these social apps, but we have to.
They're the tools.
They're the tools that are out there, and we've got to use them.
Absolutely.
I guess as long as we're clever and we're moral about what we do, I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, I agree too. I just don't like losing privacy. I'm a good guy, right? I do. Yeah. I don't break the law. I don't have to worry about
things. That's just what he says.
Well, true, but I'm not going to tell you what I really do. I just don't like people invading my privacy like that, regardless of what I'm doing. If it's a good thing or a bad thing, it's just like, just stay out of my life and go do yours.
Yeah, that is not the future, though.
I know it's not, and I'm just happy that Google's social media, Google Plus, didn't take off. Because could you imagine if Google Plus got as big as Facebook? Like they would have a capital on every internet market at that point.
Yeah,
like it's ridiculous.
I feel like it's all connected. I feel like there's probably a handful of owners, if you want to call that, in the world anyway. I know it's a conspiracy theory because I don't have the data on this, but it feels like the longer you follow a trail, the less names you run into. You know what I mean? Like everything is a monopoly. Everything is well controlled, or at least well tamed. Maybe not controlled is the right word, but it's tamed pretty well. And yeah, I mean the market for data, when I think about it, is just, it's like if I was staring at a universe or something. We've only just touched it, where there's so much more room for success, for power, for manipulation. I mean, look how I feel like people are so easily manipulated by, and I include myself in this. Like, I used to be the kind of person who vetted tried literally vet. I would say 80 to 90% of the things I read, like in the news about anything, I would try to vet, right? And see how much data.
It's a full-time job.
Well, now I feel like it's impossible.
Yeah.
There's just so much information and disinformation and misinformation, and it's flooded at a pace that there's no way. I don't even think like professional resources are enough. It's insane. You'd need an army, and it seems like the only army available is the user, and the user in general just seems to be emotional. If you go on TikTok, it is just an emotional roller coaster. If you go on Snapchat or Tinder, it's the same thing. There is a lot of like mental health problems out there because of this, man.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the worst with advertisements too. I hate when they try to connect to you with an emotional state, like they're trying to sell you their product using emotions. It's like, why?
Anyway.
Like that just makes it seem like they're cheapening their product. It's like you need to come to this primal state of my mind to be able to sell your product. Like, why can't you just tell me what you do? It
supposes so much about you too, right? Like that they know you somehow, without knowing you.
Yeah, that's why I also hate prescription ads, like for medicine. It's like especially like I get a lot of like bipolar and depression ones.
So the algorithm thinks you're nuts.
Yeah, I guess.
No offense to people that are bipolar. Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I'm a very emotionally unstable person according to the internet.
You know what, dude? I've always believed this. I think we all suffer from dementia or just mental health problems, but most of us are able to
cope.
Yeah, we're able to negotiate it into our life and appear acceptable. You know, I really think that's it, because the human mind is just not. I think it's undertrained for the world it lives in. That's what I think.
Yeah. Well, that's not our parents or our It's
no one's fault.
Our forefathers' fault.
Yeah.
It's because technology is a big part of this, right?
Yeah.
And technology has just exploded in recent history, right? Ever since the Industrial Revolution.
Dude, just look in the last 100 years, dude. Just go back to 1920 and compare it to 2020.
Yeah. No, it's ridiculous.
I mean, as best we can, right? Through history lessons, right? It's mind-blowing. It really is.
I can't imagine without having GPS, you know? Like, just living that way without being told how to get places. It's not so bad,
dude. I was talking about it actually with one of the Uber drivers when I was in Arizona recently. And, cause we were talking about how, you know, when I was a kid, my dad drove 16 hours in a car every day. He worked for Mayo Medical as a courier. And to spend time with him, I just had to go to work with him when I was on, you know, summer break or something. And one of the first things he did was teach me how to use a map, and I'd be like his navigator. And it's first of all, it's not difficult. In fact, it was a lot of fun. And you make, like, even if you make a wrong turn, like back in the day, like when I started driving, you make a wrong turn, my brain would immediately start thinking, you know, what direction am I going? You know, what cardinal direction am I facing? Right? Like, get to know the land around you. And then you don't get nervous. You're confused. You just find the next turn that puts you back in the direction you want to go until you find a major road that you're familiar with, right?
Yeah.
And our society is designed that way. We're in a grid society. Everything's based on major roads.
Unless you go to, like, Boston.
Well, I'm just saying, yeah, the further west you go, right, the better it gets to understand, I guess. Because, like, that was one thing, too, like in Scottsdale, just walking around, I never felt lost. I always knew where I was in the town. I had, like, a mental map. But that is a good point you brought up, because maybe a lot of people now, maybe yourself included, don't have that mental map.
No, I don't.
Yeah. I mean, I
do when it comes to, like, if I have landmarks, then I'm able to, like, a business even as a landmark, then I'm able to, like, kind of navigate my way around that. Because if I've traveled that area enough.
Yeah.
But I don't know names of roads. I never knew names of roads, even growing up. I just never bothered to learn street names.
Yeah.
It's always seemed useless to me.
But if you had to go back to a world without GPS, you would. Your brain would know how to adapt.
I would. Yeah. I could, because I'm a human being and I know how to persevere.
Right.
But it's still difficult.
Yeah. I mean, it's
still something you have to learn, right? It's still something that you have to overcome.
What? See, it's interesting that you consider that difficult, because I understand what you're saying, but I look at it this way. Once I understand how something works, like, you know, just travel, for example, then it becomes simple when you get lost. Now, for people that don't know maps or even, like, have a sense of where they are, when the GPS stops working or the phone dies, they have no idea, I bet. They must feel like a plane crash in their head, because, like, they must just instantly get confused and scared about where they are and where they're going, because they're so used to just following a line.
If I'm in an unfamiliar area, for sure, I'm not scared, but I don't know where I'm going. I don't know how to get back to where I was or how to get back on track if I don't know the roads or anything. Because I don't know how anything connects. You know, I don't know how roads come together.
Right. Yeah, that was one thing my father told me when I was young, and he was right, was always know which direction you're facing and you'll never be lost. And it's true. I've always kept it in my head. And it definitely helped me, you know, when I was a surveyor, for sure.
Yeah.
And really, I just added to that skill when I used to do land survey. But yeah, there's a lot of things that are about our society that I feel are going to be used as tools to, like everything we've talked about. It's going to be a way for us to integrate with future AI, and how irrelevancy is going to be a big problem for just mankind in general, because I'm trying to remember the historian's name, but he put it this way, and this is not verbatim, that in the early part of the 20th century, the problem the world over for laborers, which is most people on the planet, was exploitation. Meaning that workers were, and it's still happening. People are used to, they're worked to the bone and they're underpaid. They live in squalor or just meager conditions.
Just look at a factory worker; they don't get paid.
Look at Dubai. To me, I find that place. Everything I've learned about that place to be fine. I found it to be completely immoral. I mean, they basically have slave labor for the entire city. But also, but going, I don't want to like sidetrack. So exploitation was the problem. In the future, it's going to be irrelevancy.
Right.
We're already starting to see that. I mean, robots are just going to take over the work. It's inevitable. They're just we're going to design technologies that don't need us.
Yeah, I would love to see a job that a robot couldn't do better ever.
I can't think of anything that a robot one day won't do better. Literally anything.
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
And white collar jobs are going to be one of the first to go because of it's just software. It's just data analytics. That's all it is.
Every problem is a math problem, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of art. Yeah.
I mean, what isn't a math problem? There's nothing.
I was gonna say art, but there's so much
to
say about art that is
subjective.
math. Like just look at the golden
Subjective.
ratio and perfect spirals and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all math. The rules of threes, separations, negative space. It's all.
You know what's funny?
Fundamentals of art is math.
I mean, everything is math. And one thing I just had a thought. It reminded me of a thought I had was I'm not afraid of becoming irrelevant because I feel I'm adaptive enough to find purpose because my life has been that way, right? I like the idea of a Renaissance man anyway. I want to learn as much as I can and be as good as many things as I can. What worries me is that my imagination will be subpar. That's what worries me. That a computer program can have a better imagination than man. That worries me more.
I think it will eventually.
Because
it can go through scenarios a lot faster than you. So it can try out all these different things and eventually get something creative, which can be a tool to us, right?
Oh yeah, it can be. But that's the thing too. Like when I say I'm worried, I'm not worried that it's a contest that it'll be better, but that it'll always be more impressive. That's what worries me.
Yeah, but I think that you can still find joy in being creative.
I'm sure we will. I'm a positive thinking. I'm a positive person, so I agree. I think we will. We'll just find a way to adapt.
Yeah.
You know, and of course there'll be those that don't or don't want to, and I think that's okay too. You know what I mean? I think those people should have their argument as well. I don't think we should just all agree all the time. As long as we're not hurting each other, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I wish that was I wish that everybody on social media had that same sensibility.
That it's okay to be questioned.
That it's okay to be questioned.
Yeah, and that you should be questioned because it makes you think about your own ideas.
And that it's okay to make mistakes if you want to correct them after.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
I think we judge way too quickly now. Especially, like, you know, again, I don't want to pick on millennials, but the generation behind me, I find that there's no, like, whatever happened to brotherhood of man, you know? Accepting differences in each other and loving each other, love thy neighbor, and finding, you know.
Wasn't that what this whole...
No, it's not. It's the opposite. Everyone is arguing for violence, and everything's about hate. If it isn't about violence, it is at least about hate. You know, and I wonder how would an AI fix our current social problem, right? It's like I'll go on, let's say you go on Tinder and I'm looking at female, like I go on Tinder and I'm looking at female profiles, right?
Okay.
Dude, and I'm searching, like, the youngest I'll go is 25 years old, but it seems like any woman from 25 to like 32 all has, like, you know, it's BLM, ACAB, and all this other stuff. And it's all, if you look it up on the internet, it's all based on hate. So, like, you know, all cops are bastards. That's what the acronym ACAB is for. So that how is that about peace, right? That's just at its core, it's saying if you're a police officer, you're a bastard.
So you're
hating someone before you even know them.
Right. It's hating hate.
It's hating. Yeah. Just any hate is useless, I feel. Like, okay, let me put
what
it
about
this way.
rage? Is rage
No,
useless?
Rage and anger are useful, but hate is, to me, a state of mind that lingers only when you don't cope or handle a problem, right? So it's like, you know, what happens there's so many ways, there's so many versions of hate, but a simple one to understand would be two people who don't communicate well, like in a relationship, right?
Yeah.
So the guy leaves the toilet seat up, and the girl always leaves her toothbrush on the sink.
Mm.
Okay. So they're both messy and lazy in their own way. right?
Correct.
So rather than have a quick conversation in passing, on their way to the breakfast table, honey, can you please stop putting your toothbrush on the sink? Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. And could you please also stop leaving the toilet seat up? Yeah, no problem. Right. And rather than having a simple conversation like that to just manage the little idiosyncrasies in life, some people just let things stew. They let things build up in their head.
Right.
Right. They
It's
never
one little thing
address
becomes
the
10
little
little
things.
and then
And what
blows
happens?
up. It blows up. You don't know.
It blows up. The little thing becomes a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a lot of things right now are executing that way. People are just immediately going to extremes, in my opinion, before they even understand what they're shouting about. There's a lot of parrot talk, right? Going back to the stream of information and disinformation.
Yeah.
And how do you think an AI could help that problem? What effect can it have on that?
I think an AI could become non-biased, right? Like they won't have an agenda except for just reporting the facts, which would be awesome.
But that's almost useless. I mean, what I'm saying is like, how would it use its manipulation powers to create peace in an era where there is very little, it seems? How moral can it be, and who controls its morality?
Yeah, that would see then. Once you're controlling the morality, then it becomes your morality, which is subject, right? Mm-hmm. Your morality is different than another person's.
Sure, yeah.
So what you consider to be peace may not be peace to someone else.
May not be peaceful, yeah.
So I don't think that an AI could do it unless it was given freedom to do it. Like you couldn't control its morals. You would have to have it find its own morals. I guess you'd have to educate it, and hopefully it makes human moral decisions.
Yeah. But I've thought about that too, and I'm sure I know I've listened to people talk about it. And I tend to agree with like scientists who say, or experts who say that an AI, an artificial intelligence will have a human morality because it's built by humans.
But they're not necessarily built by humans, right? So an AI, like a deep mind or like a neural network, is built by machines. Machines are building these AIs, and they're being tested.
Fundamentals.
What
isn't the what that machine, what the AI knows and what it's testing is based on the human world. It only knows. If we created here,
but it's not necessarily built by humans because it's like an evolution of its own, right? So it's human can write a machine to write codes or to write AI, and then that AI will be tested by a teacher bot.
Right, but in the testing, the teacher bot its main comparison will be us. Won't that be true?
Yeah,
it's mainly going to compare to us and our morality and our current and
right,
past
but it
decisions.
can come up with its own.
It could, but then
out of that wouldn't be in the control of humans, except for being able to shut it off.
Right. Well, I'm sure we'd lose that almost instantly. We've probably already lost that.
There's got to be ways. The data has to be stored somewhere. So if you can delete, if you could turn off all the storage devices that it goes to, then it's gone.
Well, another thing too, based on that, is like turning it off and turning off data centers and things like that. And Elon Musk, I think, is the one that made this point. He said this is the biggest race ever in mankind's history. The first one to solve super, artificial intelligence. In other words, intelligence that is
at least
as smart as humans, which would then mean it instantly become smarter than us.
Yeah.
Is going to win the global dominance race, right? They just are. Whichever country comes up with it first, whoever executes it on the largest scale first. That's the way I understood him saying that. By his meaning, I mean.
Right. But I think like a second one could become more efficient. Like you take AlphaGo, who did the competition with.
I think he just meant that once a dominance is established, that's it.
Oh, okay.
Then it's that's GG, good game. But who knows?
I know, because like there's different companies right now that are doing Like there's different car companies, and just because one company has a dominance in their industry doesn't mean that another company can't come up
but
and
this
take
is,
that. I know it's a lot different, but I'm just trying to come a comparison at all.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, I don't know if that's a good comparison.
I don't know if there is a good comparison to AI.
Maybe
AI
not.
is so different than anything else we've done. It's amazing. It is so cool. And I can't wait.
I know. I'm hoping that we're alive for a lot of this crazy cool shit.
I think we will be. Automation's coming, like self-driving cars. We already got trucks that are doing self-driving trucks for like freights.
Well, we got cars, trucks,
or cargo.
And it's growing every year.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
we got bots in warehouses doing everything. I mean, self-driving cars are literally around the corner. And then 0 fatalities on the road is around the corner.
That's gonna be crazy. You can get as drunk as you want.
Yeah, right? You can fall asleep at the wheel. Who cares?
Well, why would you? I wouldn't even sleep. I wouldn't be up front. If my car's driving me, I'm in the back seat. I want like a mini studio in that motherfucker. And why have front seats, front facing seats anymore? Just have like a little lounge.
Yeah,
like a little lounge car that drives you everywhere.
What if your car like swiveled, like your seat so you could look out the front? Because some people are going to still be car sick. Like I know I will be.
Well, yeah, okay, so we have that. But I mean, even if that lounge car breaks down, you're just going to call the next AI tow. You know what I mean? You'll never. Would I even
want my own car? Would I want just because you could just rent?
No, everything's going to be a Netflix service. You're just going to pay a $9.95, a $10 fee per month.
There we go.
And you're just gonna get like that's gonna encompass certain amenities.
Yeah,
basically, like Google is doing that now. I don't know if it's how brand new, but it's new, where instead of normally if you want to get rid of ads, advertisement on an app, like
right?
Free app,
you pay.
You have to pay, right? And you don't really usually gain more things on the app. It just gets rid of the advertisements. Well, Google now has a service. I think it's $4.95 a month, basically $5 a month, where you get access to all like hundreds of different apps without ads.
Oh.
And I'm like, yeah, that's like everything turns into that when you think about it. Rather than, because why would they keep paying advertisers or let advertisers get all the money? The money, they want the money, right? They'd rather get paid themselves. They're the ones hosting the technology anyway. So I feel like that'll happen for Uber in the future. You'll just have an Uber subscription, that lets you get how many, so many rides a month.
I don't know if Uber still is, but they were at one point the leading like force of like self-driving cars, like technology wise.
I'm sure they're competitive about it because they've got competition around the world, and it's not just Lyft. There's other services in different countries with different names, yada yada. But I feel like everything one day will just be a subscription of some sort, and that even our income will, in its way, kind of be a subscription because like parts of countries, like right now, America is basically a polyarchy, right? There's different economic biome systems, the country over, like different parts of the country are owned by different corporations and things like that, and economies that run them. So I can see humans being treated that way in the future because we kind of already are, right? So basically, one part of the government will be paying out a subscription to its, 10 million citizens or whatever. And then from that income, people will have to determine what they themselves.
We're saying like a universal basic income.
Kind of thing. But it'll be operated like a subscription, because that way I would think they would go that way eventually too, because it would just be handled much more easily.
Well, I think we will have to have a universal basic income system eventually once we become irrelevant due to AI.
Well, exactly, and like what you talked about in China. Yeah. One thing I read about is how, because of all the data they collect on citizens in China, it's easy for the government to audit people. Everything, every detail about their life, it seems, can be audited.
And well, they're also, that's one of the reasons they're leading. One of the leading forces in AI is because they have so much data, because the government just lets these companies get a hold of it, and the government is funding it.
I really think they're going to become the new world power.
I think that there might be an arms race.
Regain it, I should say.
There's going to be an arms race between,
like another
China,
Cold War,
China and
Cold
us
War.
with AI.
A digital Cold War.
Some countries are going to choose for the surveillance type system using the AI, and others are going to go for freedom hopefully, like we do.
Yeah, I like,
or at least the illusion of freedom. Who knows how free we are when they're taking our data like that?
Man. Yeah, I mean, what's really missing in the West, I feel, is just net neutrality. It's just privatization, and so once that's the only hurdle left, once that's not jumped but literally destroyed, then we'll be no different than any other government-controlled society. But
that's what I don't want. That's the only thing that I don't like about AI is the lack of privacy. That's the only thing I don't like. But I mean, regardless of what we do,
how useful is your privacy too when you think about it? Though I mean,
I don't care about how useful it is.
Well, let's talk about it. I agree with you. I agree with the sentiments you have for privacy, right? Because I like the idea of being left alone. I value that.
Yeah.
And I would say I believe that I'm not really left alone even when I feel I'm left alone.
Well, yeah.
Right?
That's how they do it.
So, but let's discuss that. How important is privacy? I mean, let's throw this situation at you. We've joked about being in our 80s and then, playing around with technology. How much does your privacy matter to you when you're 80? We can't really say, but
I would say it matters just as much as it does now. Well, because I'm not changing.
You're dying. You are changing.
I am changing.
You're going away, friend.
I'm here forever.
But see, that's contradictory.
No,
because it is. Because you want to be left alone but immortal. I don't think you can have both.
No, I know I can't. But what I want isn't always what I get. It's like, so even when I'm going to be 80, I'll still value my privacy. If anything, I'll be more crotchety about it. I'll be more vocal.
Oh, that I believe. I feel like if you had the powers of Superman, you would just use them to make sure people left you alone.
Yes,
you would not go around.
I would
solving problems.
I would feel obligated to help the problems that I see in front of me, but I would not go searching for problems to fix if I had.
I can see that car is 4 miles from my house. I'm gonna go pick it up and drop it in New Jersey. I'm alone again.
Yeah. I've been contemplating just moving out into the forest and building my own house and just living off the land.
There's a dude that did it back in the 70s and 80s. I forget his name. But
there's still people that go and do that and just go off the grid completely.
Yeah, you can do it. I mean, humans are fragile, but we're also I feel like we're pretty easy to take care of.
We're resilient.
We're resilient and we're simple. Like if you really want to, I think you could do it, Zach. Just learn how to be.
I know. I just haven't
how to grow things.
I just really like technology though, and I can't have that by myself. I need society to give me this technology to be able to have it. I need to be a part of society to access the amenities of society.
I think that's what Edward said about you once. He's like, Zach wants to be in the middle of the forest or something like that, in the mountains, miles away from civilization, with the best internet possible.
Yes, that's all I want.
But you can't have
that's
that,
all
man.
I want. It's not much.
You can't have it, dude.
I could have it.
No, there's no cell towers out in the middle of fucking Wyoming.
I'll go build my own, okay?
Oh, you're gonna go ruin that landscape just so that you can have
the cell tower's not gonna ruin anything.
Japanese.
It's gonna look like a tree, all right? It'll be fine.
that makes it okay. There's a lot of dead squirrels and birds around that tree. Wow, they shouldn't be landing on it.
I think that when you do disguise your surroundings as nature, it does feel natural. It feels more comfortable.
Yeah, but it's just an illusion.
Yeah, but what is it? A lot of things are illusions.
Look,
comfort is
a power line decorated as a jungle vine.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
Yeah, it's cool to us, but it's gonna kill anything that tries to climb onto it.
No, birds are alright.
I have seen a lot of fried animals from power lines. Dude,
yeah,
trust me,
squirrels get in trouble a lot.
I've seen a lot of animals killed by basically us. So,
yeah.
You know why you don't find just piles of dead things around like those huge cell towers and huge power, like power line towers?
Because you're picking them up.
They clean them up. Yeah. I bet you a lot of people don't know that. They get a lot of dead animals and they clean them up.
Yeah.
So
I still want that though. That's what I want to be in the middle of nowhere with access to everything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a dream state, I think. But who knows?
I have a lot of dreams.
AI, it'll be possible. Maybe eventually we'll get light transfer data. You know what I mean? Where information is just sent by light.
From
like
a satellite.
Have that now, but where you don't need wiring and tubing. It can just be beamed.
Yeah.
you know? And then it's just beamed down to you, to like a hub near you, or like wherever you live. You build your little cabin out in the middle of Montana.
I mean, Tesla wanted to electrify the Earth.
Yeah.
We could do it.
Yeah, I always thought that was cool, man. If we had all these Tesla towers and they were just arcing through the sky like lightning and shit.
Dude, it'd be intense.
Well, it'd be crazy to fly through, but it would be fun to like.
Yeah,
to
but you could
look
literally stick a plug in the ground.
Yeah.
And it will light up.
Yeah.
It's magic.
Look,
that is magic.
The only reason we don't live in a Tesla utopia is because of money and greed.
Yeah, that damn Edison.
Yeah.